problem is that Congress is seen by the American people as a dysfunctional institution. That's how you get a 10. And you got to wonder, well, why do we reelect congressmen? 90% get reelected. It's very simple. There are two different sets of skills. Well, first of all, 90% of congressmen are gerrymandered into very safe districts. So you can't get them out with the jaws of life. I mean, so they're there. And why is somebody going to spend $2.5 million to run against somebody who's got 56% party registration? It's a waste of time and a waste of money. But aside from that, Americans tell us, less so, but they still tell us, we like our congressman. Why? On a very personal and intimate basis. He helped my dad with a VA problem. She helped my nephew get a job. He returns my phone call. She marches in a parade. Those very personal things. I like her. I like him. On the other hand, I mean, that's the set of skills that you get reelected with. The set of skills that you survive and thrive with in Washington are based first and foremost on party loyalty. And that's also second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh, is party loyalty. And so, seldom do you see someone run successfully for re-election saying, send me back to Washington, I sit down with the other party. I break bread with the leaders of the other party. We get the job done. No, they get re-elected either on local issues or on pounding the table. Send a fighter back. And so very simply, this is why Congress gets a 10, and this is why the American people say, you know what? We want a problem solver. We don't care if it's red or it's blue. Number 4, do not forget this word. It's funny. I predicted that you would not hear it very much during the election. You're not hearing it very much at all. You're not likely to hear it between now and Tuesday. And yet, more than any other word, it defines the crisis of confidence that we have today, which is the worst crisis in confidence that we've had in government and political institutions in this country since 1932. And that word is Katrina. Katrina is more of a defining moment in American history than 9/11. Katrina, or 9/11, created a sense of bonding. It was horrific, and Americans needed the safety and comfort and security of their familiar institutions. So we bonded with each other, and we bonded with our leadership. The president's numbers went up, Congress's numbers, Democrats, Republicans, local governments. Americans, already a religious people, went back to church, got involved locally in Neighborhood Watch. They were looking, we're putting the pieces back together again. Some of it's the law of gravity. What goes up automatically comes down. Some of it, to be sure, were mistakes that were made. And so, by 2002, church scandals, Enron, WorldCom, corporate scandals, a war. I don't know if anybody remembers this. I do. I was polling. Do you know the day before shock and awe started, March 17th, 2003, 47% of American voters supported going to war in Iraq, 46% opposed. So Americans rallied behind the troops and behind the president, but not surprisingly, when that war went south, the country split right down the middle. And so, over the next couple of years, you're watching the president's numbers go down, you're watching Congress's numbers go down, you're watching us go from a national consensus down to hyperpolarization. And then August, late August 2005, pow, Katrina hits. And more than a judgment on Bush, more than a judgment on you're doing a good job down there, Brownie, much more than that, the message that emerged from Katrina was, it doesn't work. It doesn't function. It's not there for us when we need it. And it's at that point that you saw the president's numbers go into free fall. And Congress is going to free fall. And it was at that point, as we were polling in 2006, that Americans were telling us, we're not really Democrats or Republicans. We're going to throw some bums out, but in the meantime, we just want the job to get done. And the interesting thing is, even today, I know I'm being very vague about this, but the American people are not giving us a consensus on how it's to be done. Oh, they like green-collar jobs, and we need action on global warming. On one hand, they want non-renewable or renewable energy sources. On the other hand, they want drilling. They want nuclear power. They want something, is what they're saying. Health insurance, they don't have their minds made up whether it's single payer or private managed care with government leadership and regulation. Whatever, they're not looking to describe the statistics or the specifics. They're saying to their leadership, do something. And that's what's really interesting. It leads to point number 5, and the final point. This election is transformational. Do you know that if you look at the last 100 years of American history, there have been only 7 years of major reform? 1913 and 1914, Woodrow Wilson's New Freedom. The Federal Reserve was formed, progressive social legislation. Wilson was afraid of the bull moose, Teddy Roosevelt's third party. 1933 to 1936, the New Deal. Franklin Roosevelt, afraid of a full-scale rebellion. America's institutions, political, governmental, financial, were at their worst crisis ever. 1964 and 65, Lyndon Johnson. Great society, war on poverty, voting rights, civil rights. Johnson was afraid of what was already happening, race riots. Whoever gets elected president on Tuesday will usher in, upon his inauguration, another one of those major periods of reform. And the reason, number one, he has to. And number two, the or else this time is not rebellion or race riots. The or else this time is that, do you know that in 1992, there were 92 million voters? In 2004, there were 122 million voters. We're looking next Tuesday at 132 to 135 million voters. Who's going to tell those new voters, your expectations are for naught? Which president and which leaders of Congress are going to sign their names onto having lost an entire generation to the American political system? That's why there'll be reform. Major reform. It will be on energy. It'll be on health insurance. It'll be on global warming. It'll be on green-collar jobs. Where is the money going to come from? Hey, it's all very simple. Who's going to tell the American people that after we found $700 billion to bail out Wall Street, that we can't find money anywhere else? Those are details. And for those who say, well, you know what, this is all so vague, you need to know, today is what, the 29th or the 30th? The 30th. Do you know that on October 30th, 1932, Franklin Roosevelt did not have a New Deal? All he said during his campaign was, I'm not sure, this is a quote, I'm not sure what we're going to do. All I know is that we have to try something. You know when the New Deal was born? Like lots of great ideas. The night that Franklin Roosevelt won, and he was sitting with Harry Hopkins and Harold Ickes, and he said the great question that all great leaders ask when they learn they've won: what are we supposed to do now?